Hey everybody, and welcome to the channel. It's good to have you with me. The Epiphone inspired by Gibson Hummingbird. And that's what we're going to talk about. Now, if you happened by and caught the first review I did on this particular guitar, you're probably wondering why I'm doing a second one. And then if you happen to go look, you've probably come to the conclusion that I took that video down, and you'd be right. That was the worst video I've ever seen. And it was the first video I'd ever done on YouTube. And the truth of the matter is I was too busy making excuses for why it was such a bad video. You know, number one rule, when you're up in front of people and you're talking, don't sit around making excuses about things. Here's what I'm going to say. Many of you are probably reasonably familiar with this, and you've been surfing YouTube for a while looking at these reviews and trying to make your mind up about what you're going to do. Who do you believe? Can you trust somebody when they tell you something sounds good? But I would refer you, I think, to J.P. Cornier. He, I believe, put it best when it came to these inspired by Gibson line of guitars. And I think he used the word phenomenal. And after having one in my hands now for about ever how long I've had this, maybe a couple of months now, I completely agree. And now when it comes to anything guitar, when JP talks about it, I have a tendency to pay a little more attention. But you know how it is. I mean, your whole mic setup, your whole everything. What really counts is, you know, the person playing the guitar, what is it exactly that they're hearing, and is it worth, you know, rolling the dice on and spending the money? Because if you haven't played one, you are a bit rolling the dice. But let me tell you something about this inspired by Gibson lineup. It's unbelievable. Well, the Hummingbird is unbelievable, and everything I've seen on the J45, the inspired by Gibson J45 Epiphone, that I hear is very impressive as well. Now, let me say just a couple of things before we strum on this, pick on it a little bit, and kind of go through it. Gibson, for whatever reason, allowed Epiphone to reproduce the Hummingbird, the Gibson Hummingbird. Now, is this a Gibson Hummingbird? No, but I like it better than the Gibson Hummingbird, and I have experience with that, okay? Everything from the bracing and the sound, the clarity on this guitar. This is what really got me about the Excellente as well, is the clarity and the ease with which this thing played, okay? Both these guitars. But Epiphone just really knocked this thing out of the park. Epiphone normally builds their own lineup, okay? So on the acoustic side of things. Now they have put several Hummingbirds out there with laminated back and sides and that kind of thing. And I'm not saying those are bad guitars by any stretch of the imagination, but this guitar, Sitka spruce top, mahogany back and sides, solid. Indian laurel fretboard, and an Indian laurel bridge down here, a bone nut and a bone saddle, okay? Now, a lot of folks have talked about this Indian laurel as though it were, and I've seen a few comments on it, as though it were something somebody dug out of a trash can, and I don't know where people get that. Indian laurel is very, very close to any rosewood, I think, fretboard you're going to see, or bridge for that matter. It's got some different coloring on it, but I could care less about that. As a matter of fact, I kind of like the little bit of a design that I've got into that this bridge down here. But I can't tell any difference with this. It's just a very beautiful fretboard and a very beautiful saddle, and I don't see anything there. Maybe they can get Indian laurel a little bit less expensive than they can get rosewood. I don't know, but $850 or so, or whatever this thing lists for now. Yeah, I'm in. These parallelograms are mother of pearl. You've got Epiphone tuners on this with the gold bushings and the gold-plated bushings, I guess, and these keys. There's some kind of plastic, obviously, but I thought they toned them pretty well, and you're going to see that on many guitars, right? You're going to see a lot of that. Nothing wrong with that. It's got the pick guard is not exactly like the Gibson Hummingbird. This one seems to be a little bit thicker than what you have on the actual Gibson Hummingbird. But this thing is a powerhouse. I mean, it really is. I'm going to put the specs up, so I'll give you the scale length, all that kind of stuff. But I think I'm just going to put it up right along about in here somewhere, and I'll go ahead and throw that up and leave it up for a few minutes so you can kind of see that. It's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful guitar. Let me see if I can get kind of up close there. I turned the autofocus off on this program that I got just because it has a tendency to have a mind of its own. But some very nice detail there, I think. You can see the Epiphone logo there. Mother of pearl. Let's start at the bottom or at the top and work our way down. You can kind of see just how nice that really is. You have to excuse fingerprints if they're on there. But I've got this guitar out about 3 or 4 times a week. There's some beautiful mahogany right there. And I will show you the sides of this one. Hopefully I won't dent it up while I'm doing this. Look at that neck joint. It's absolutely perfect. Very, very well done. Again, I think this one's got the Fishman sonotone in it. Electronics. Not a fan of electronics on an acoustic. I'll never plug it in. But the detail in the grain, the workmanship on the guitar, the bracing, scallop bracing in this, and it has that Gibson dreadnought sound. Okay? Which honestly didn't think they would go far enough to actually do that, because you have to admit Gibson has its own sound, and which is a beautiful sound, and of course Gibson, much like Martin, has its own place in the guitar world, or Taylor, or any of those, right? But I am a Gibson fan. I've always been a Gibson fan. I've had 2 J45s. One of them was a J45 Regal. The other one that I had not very long ago, but I sold it, was a Gibson Gibson J45 Standard, and then I had a Gibson J45 Regal. And both those guitars, phenomenal guitars. Beautiful, but more than that, they had that slope shoulder dreadnought, so it really had that punch to it, that Gibson punch that you kind of expect out of a slope shoulder. Just wonderful guitars, and I'm not done with Gibson, I don't think. I don't know that I'm ready to go out and spend $5,000 on $6-7 on some of the things that they've got out now. But folks, let me tell you something. With the exact same construction, it took an ocean ride, but with the exact same construction, if you just brought this thing over and landed it on the West Coast or the East Coast or wherever you want to land this thing, and you put up a shop and you did the exact same thing they did in Indonesia, you're looking at a $3,000 or $4,000 guitar. Just all there is to it. This thing is really, truly just beautiful. But folks, this is one of the nicest guitars you will ever purchase for $850. Brand new. You take care of this guitar, it'll last you a lifetime. Okay? And it is absolutely a work of art. It's very beautiful the way they did the guitar. And I'll be honest with you, I think Sophie with the Distance over in the UK out of Manchester, if you've checked out any of their videos over there, she plays, I think, Sophie, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm wondering if that's not a Hummingbird that you're actually playing. If she happens to catch this video, her and Matt. But she has a square shoulder dreadnought Gibson that she's playing. And it sounds wonderful. And it sounds like this. I mean, I think the sounds are very comparable. And there's probably a good $2,000 difference between the guitars. And that's great. You know, if you want a Gibson, get a Gibson. But if you want a Gibson and you want to pay, a few thousand less, get this, because you just can't go wrong. I bought it and I didn't have to buy it. I could have bought a Gibson. But after seeing what few reviews that I did see on this, how could you not go pick this up? It's just fascinating to me. Yeah, you won't go wrong with this guitar, and you will be happy that you picked one up. When I sit down to do a review on the guitar, I always try to find what do I think's negative about it. You know, it's I don't know. You have to consider the price point you're looking at. So you're not going to have rosewood binding, right? You're going to have a plastic binding, but this binding is very, very well done. I'm sorry, folks, but I can't find a negative thing to say. I would like to point you to the pick guard. I'm not a massive fan of this pick guard. Maybe there's a negative. I wish they would have done a bit of a thinner, more defined pick guard than this one. This one appears to have maybe a little softness to it. It's a little bit thick, maybe. Haven't had any trouble out of it, but and yeah, I know that's a minor point, but I can't seem to find anything else. I can't point to the Indian Laurel and tell you that's a problem because I don't think it is. You know, anytime somebody starts putting something different on a guitar, people begin to go, you know, and who knows, maybe there's somebody out there scrutinizing this thing to death, but come on, it's $850. I mean, $850. Now, if you know anything at all about guitars, it's pretty amazing when you think about the kind of construction in place on this guitar. It's just unbelievable. The only thing I would change if I worked for Epiphone and I could make the decisions is I wouldn't send one of these out the door without a case. I just wouldn't do it. I wouldn't send an Excellente out the door without a case. I can't believe they're doing that. It's frustrating to me and irritating because there's a lot of folks out there that kind of pick around on a guitar but don't really know much about guitars. I fell into that category for most of my adult life and childhood, when I was playing. I didn't know anything about the construction of the guitar. I looked at it, and if it looked okay and it sounded decent, I'd write them a check for $200, whatever I was buying at the time. But I didn't think about that kind of stuff. Never even thought about a case. I thought, what do I want to put it in a case for? I'm going to have it out playing it all the time. No, mine come out, the one I pick up for the day, whatever that happens to be, it comes out of the case in the mornings before I start doing any work. And before I go to bed at night, I put it back in the case. And if for any reason I forgot to, I wake up freaked out a little bit when I walk in and see it and I realize I didn't put it in the case last night. I've just gotten so used to that. But if you have a guitar that you care about, you should have a case. And I'm surprised at the quality of the instrument that they don't sell with a case. You have to buy it as an option. But welcome to today's world, folks, where we're pinching this thing half to death to make sure that we get our marketing right. And so that's the deal. It's marketing. And then bottom line, right? Because this is an $850 guitar they're selling, which is actually not really $850 quality. It's much higher than that. But they can list it that way because they didn't invest any money on a case. So if you pick up a good case, I don't know, I figure it'd probably cost you around $80 to $120, depending on what kind of deal you make, right? So you can add another $120 onto that, let's say. So what is that, $970? You're still under $1,000. But you need the case. That's what protects the guitar. That's where you keep it humidified, and you don't have to worry about all that. It is the thing to do. But as far as I'm concerned, I treat my guitars just like I do my truck. My truck is most of the time is spotless, and except for when you have to get them dirty. But I always clean them back up and clean everything out because that's an investment. And frankly, I think the way you keep things is a reflection of you. I just would encourage you to take care of your guitars. It's got a beautiful, beautiful sound to it. It's so rich when you play it. But anyway, folks, I encourage you, if you've been thinking about picking this guitar up and you're not sure, maybe you're trying to decide between the J45 Epiphone inspired by Gibson or the Gibson Hummingbird. I don't think you're going to go wrong with either one of them. I don't know about the J200. David Hayes with Hayes Tech, that channel. David has or his grandson does, or they both have, I can't figure it out. David, clear me up. They have a J200 Epiphone inspired by Gibson, and I believe he told me he loved it. And so I was watching JP Cornier, and he had one, and he absolutely loves it. I've read a few reviews on it where some folks didn't like it, but again, it's another one of those things. You get a guitar, put strings on there that you want, and then play the guitar again, and I got a suspicion that these inspired by Gibsons are really going to grab your attention, because I doubt very seriously you're going to go wrong with any of the inspired bys. And there is a difference, folks. There is a difference between the inspired by Gibson, Hummingbird, J45, and the J200 than if you just went and picked up an Epiphone somewhere and it said Hummingbird on it. I know a lot of people are fans of the Hummingbird Pro and those kinds of things, and I got nothing against them. It's just that I'm not much on laminated back and sides. I like a solid back and sides and a solid top. But this thing's off the charts, and I hope it came through in the video. Anyway, it's good to see everybody. Take care of your friends. Take care of your family. God bless. We'll see you next time.